Hi, Atlas, and thanks for joining us today here at a coffee event at Wynn's. I know you're a very busy man. So we're just coming to the end of the IPF, and I believe it was just there at the end of September. It's the 16th year, so could you tell us something about IPF and the condition, and what does that mean?
Yeah, certainly. IPF means idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, and put that in simple terms, idiopathic means that you don't know the cause of the illness, and pulmonary is lungs, and fibrosis is scarring of the lungs. So what that amounts to really in very simple terms is that you know it's a terminal illness. You have an average 3 to 5 years to live with it. Now no one can say for definite how long you're going to live with it, but on a positive note, I've had that since 2010. I was diagnosed then, and we're now in the 8th year. So I feel very fortunate, you know, to be in that position and still alive and kicking, you know. And
very much so.
So
yeah,
very.
So look, So 16th year of the ILFA. Well, what exactly is that?
The Irish Lung Fibrosis Association. Just to explain, give you some background, they're a voluntary organisation.
Okay.
They're there to support people that have pulmonary fibrosis, idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis, and not just that, but also to provide information on that illness, because it'd be a rare illness, and there's virtually no other organisation quite like them in that respect. They're a great support, and like in 2013, I got quite sick, and I didn't know anybody with that illness, and I didn't know much about it. But they were very informative, so I was put in contact with them, and ever since I've been very supportive of what they're doing. So with the result that I became a patient advocate.
Okay.
For them, and help them any way I can in raising funds or whatever way I can.
And then you're a European patient ambassador as well. So
yes.
How does that work? Or?
The way that works is in 2013, when I became sick, really sick with that illness, I decided I'd try and get as much information as I could, but also I wanted to try and help other people. So I heard through, there was a program online that you could do called the European Patient Ambassador Programme. So I did that in 2015, and I also joined a patient advisory group, which they're based in Britain, but it applies throughout Europe. So I joined them, and I did a programme, and the whole idea would be that to exchange information from people different parts of Europe, you know, on the programme, update it, and also to share information on health issues. Serious health issues.
Yeah, and especially I'd imagine if you're a patient and you work with clinicians and getting the voice of the patient out there, because there's a lot of things that I would imagine with patients that they feel sometimes that are being overlooked, and no better voice than the patient themselves.
Well, you said that eloquently, because that's exactly the point. Unfortunately, sometimes, like when you look at papers that are produced by, you know, people that are consultants and all that, through no fault of their own, but they don't necessarily understand where the patient is coming from. So sometimes it does take patients, you know, to actually talk about their condition, you know, and help others, but in a very straightforward way. Not, you don't want anything that's too highfalutin or people don't understand. So, if you like, that's one thing about ILFA and about the European Patient Ambassador Programme. You know, you feel as though that once you've done the programme, you understand the nature of different illnesses, you know, especially respiratory illnesses, you know, and how you can advocate for people that have conditions such as IPF.
Yeah, because I'd imagine, like, you know, you have people out there with this condition, and as you said, it is rare, so people don't know, you know, who to talk to, who to go to.
Correct.
And no better people than the people, you know, sufferers themselves to speak and, you know.
So that's where, like, the fact that I was so thrilled with the support from ILFA, the Irish Lung Fibrosis Association, that I asked, could I help out in any shape or form, like, you know, and now like my number is put down in their newsletter as a person who has just been diagnosed with the illness can contact and get reliable information, and then know about the Dublin support group, where we meet once a month, you know. And it's not like what people think. It's not where it's all doom and gloom. And it's, if anything, it's a way by which to, you know,
Discuss, and there is an awful lot of positivity around it.
And then have a bit of banter between us as well.
Exactly, you know. Because, you know, you're a very inspirational sort of person, you know, and probably no better person to meet than somebody like yourself, Matt, you know.
Thanks very much. That's a lovely thing to say.
No, it really is, because it said when I could, you know, I can imagine that if you're in a situation like that, there's an awful lot of things you don't know, you're probably afraid to ask.
It can be a very anxious moment when people are told you have a terminal illness, you know, and now fortunately I wasn't told that 3 to 5 years to live, but some are actually told that. And it's kind of daunting, you can imagine, you know, because
yeah, absolutely.
some might have passed away quicker than that, you know, so to have a support group to give you the correct information, because you could easily go on to Dr. Google on the internet
and diagnose yourself completely wrongly, you know.
Yeah, correct, and the information could be out of date, for example, like, you know, so.
Because moving forward on these sort of things, you know, with medicine today, things are changing so fast, so many different developments. I say something that might have been relevant, 3 years ago is redundant now.
Absolutely,
you know.
Yeah, true.
So just moving on to some of your art, Matt, we believe you're quite the accomplished artist. You've got an award there of outstanding student, should I say, in Dunleary.
Yes.
You studied Trinity Art in Trinity. How did that influence your artworks?
Would you believe now what happened with you know, going back to what you said there a minute ago, like with the winning the most outstanding student of the year award was a very, very special occasion for me, because would you believe that that was in 2009. Imagine a few months later I was diagnosed with that terminal illness, idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. So if you like, it was very meaningful for the simple reason that I was doing that part-time, and I was working full-time and doing that maybe three nights a week, 4 nights a week, and working at the weekend on the artwork. But it was really a wonderful surprise to have been awarded that, because I never expected it. Because full-time students that would be there, you know, you'd imagine that they would, you know,
these were going to be first forerunners in getting an award like that.
So it was very special, and like I love art, always have done. So if you like, that's really spurred me on to continue doing it. And in 2015, I had the first ever solo art exhibition, you know, and I was so happy to be able to do that, and also to provide funds for ILFA, you know.
So I see here that you've done exhibitions in the Bank of Ireland Arts Centre in College Green.
Yes,
Dublin City Civic, Woodkey down their offices down there, and many others, you know.
Yes, yeah.
And you're quite the giver when it comes down to your artwork, selling and donating funds.
Well, no, like particularly that year in 2015, I genuinely wanted to give something back. Yeah. And I thought that if it's very meaningful to do something you actually are passionate about, and then to give it to, you know, give funds to people who you feel as though need it, because they're a small voluntary group, you know, and I thought it would be a very meaningful thing to do.
Could we actually, Matt, just go over some of your artworks here?
Certainly, of course.
If you just go through some of these bits and pieces here we have here. So this one here is, tell us something about this one.
That one, there's a fascinating story about that. That's actually, if you like, going back to the time of the flooding of the lakes in Blessington.
Okay.
And what that amounts to, it's a cottage scene, but it's not typical of what you'd normally see. It's deliberately done in muted colours, because that particular area was flooded, and the people that lived there was a group called, a family called the Wynn family. They had to move out of it. So if you like, parts of that would be actually
underwater now.
Underwater now.
Isn't
and in very drought conditions, part of it would be visible, you know.
It's actually quite striking, the whole thing, really, isn't it?
Yeah, I just love, I love the whole storyline behind it, you know.
Yeah.
So that's why I did that.
So, and this one here.
Yeah, they're if you like, what I call dot drawings. You know, they're all different types of geometrical forms, and the whole idea would be that I love the whole notion of infinity, and that when you look at objects, that imagine being able to see through them. It'd be almost like what I explained to you a minute ago about being diagnosed with idiopathic pulmonary fibrosis. You would never know, like physically, you would never know, except by a CT scan. So if you like, a CT scan sees all these little particles in your lungs, and likewise with this, it's almost as if you can see the atoms in the object. Now it's therapeutic as well because you're going dot, 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 so it'd be perhaps thousands of dots. Now that one there.
And you're
be done
channeling all of this energy and all of this, the thoughts, the whole structure into this work.
Yeah, and sometimes now it's just, it's not copied off anything, it's just literally from your head, and being able to try and visualise what you want to put on paper.
Then we've this piece here.
That piece there is of watercolours. That's actually from the Fingal area. I live in Swords, and I really love the Fingal area. Most areas of Fingal I love, and that what you're looking at there is a watercolours of a very small thatched cottage, and it's quite unique. You wouldn't see many of them in Ireland. So that was my motivation for doing that, to show something in a different way. Like, we see lots of thatched cottages, but not quite in the same vein as that.
Because this whole thing is changing, especially in Fingal now with the developments in the last 20 years. It's another planet nearly, isn't it?
It is like another planet, indeed, yeah. So to capture like some of these, there's some restoration work being done in Fingal, on thatched roofs, etc. But that's just very meaningful for me.
Okay. Now this one here.
I love gardening.
Okay.
And they are actually plants that are in Africa, and they're a very unusual species. And what was really remarkable about that one there, that my GP is a very supportive individual, and he came to the exhibition in 2015 and purchased that.
Okay. And
what was very meaningful for me was that he just felt that the passion that I had for it was actually in that, and to him, like, he knows I love gardening, and that's the appeal. Now that's the watercolours as well, And that's Wicklow.
Okay.
That's many years I've been travelling to Wicklow, and if you like, that was a huge oil painting that was done a few years ago, and ironically, that was probably one of the last oil paintings that I've done, because I had to change course. I couldn't paint with oils anymore due to problems with toxicity.
But then you changed to acrylics.
Yeah, there's a newer acrylic paint on the market, which some of them now that you're looking at would be done with that. They're more expensive, but fortunately I heard about it through, I went to a lecture, a 1-hour lecture in Centre City here, and that's how I found out about it. Only one place in the country stocked them. So it was like someone giving you a lot of money, because I thought I might have to give up painting. But because I'm a bit, as I said to you a minute ago, like when I'm doing work, I'm unfortunately, for me maybe, I'm a bit slow, at doing work. It's just ordinary acrylics will dry too quick. But these are slow drying acrylic paint from America, and that's what I've been using.
So once your sort of your inspiration changes and you think, maybe that wasn't right, that isn't what I was saying, you still have that window of opportunity.
You still have that window of opportunity, which is wonderful. So it's great to be able to do that.
Like another door open for you back into the scene. This one here now.
So that's actually called infinity. Now that's almost as if you were looking at particles in space, and almost like an explosion of matter. And that's been subsequently sold. But that one there you're looking at was actually done with those new paints,
Okay. Because this looks fantastic, So that's gone. And this one here.
And the Jeannie Johnson, that's very special in my eyes, because I did that mainly due to the history behind it. That was one of probably the few ships that sailed to America where nobody died on the voyage. And what was unique about that was there was a doctor on board. Now, what was another thing about that? Well, it wasn't just a doctor on board, but apparently they limited the amount of passengers. So that obviously, you know, contributed to the amount of people that were able to travel on it without passing away, as would have happened to other vessels. But what's unique about that was that that was sold to this lad who sailed on it. Now,
Really?
I don't mean all those years ago.
Yeah,
I mean, it's now on the quays here, of course, in Dublin, a replica of it, and he sailed on that replica.
God, that's brilliant.
And he bought that painting.
Yeah.
So it was very meaningful.
Great opportunity for him as well, like to...
Yeah, well, it meant a lot for me, the
Yeah.
fact that someone had actually had that, you know, relationship with it.
Yeah, it connects straight away.
Yeah,
you know?
so that was the motivation for doing that.
That's beautiful, it really is, you know. So I tell you what we're going to do. We're just going to touch now on the tidy towns.
Yes.
You certainly made your mark there in Swords as well, you know. So how did you were nominated in 2015, Tidy Towns.
I was nominated for, this was now the National Volunteer of the Year Award in
Okay.
2015, and I've been doing voluntary work for the last 43 years, which is you know,
Wow, that's
so
quite the
few
number,
years,
isn't it?
you know.
Yeah, 1 or 2 years.
Well, 15 years with Swords Tidy Towns.
Okay.
And but anyway, I was nominated for this award, and surprisingly, I won it. I wasn't expecting to do so. But what meant a lot to me about that was that Christine Buckley, she would have won it prior to me winning it, you know, and she was an advocate for like women that were abused like for many years, you know. So she won that award and she won the European award. So to have that legacy after her was a
quite the
very
honour.
special occasion for me, you know.
No, and the other thing we want to talk about is maybe the Garda station in Swords there.
Yes.
That was looking a bit...
It was
needed a
looking,
haircut and a
yeah,
shave.
it was, yeah. It needed
something.
TLC.
TLC,
It did, yeah. And the signage there needed a little bit of work to be done on it. So, with the Garda's permission, of course, you know, I took it home and I did some work on it and restored it to its original condition, you know. And then around the Garda station, we also, you know, did a tidy up.
Okay.
So that seemed to be very, very much appreciated.
And you were doing a lot of work there with the youth as well, trying to get young people involved, because I know you have a passion for gardening and things like that. So
yeah.
is it hard to get them on board?
Yeah, well, years ago, before even I got involved with Swords Tidy Towns, like the idea was that we get very young children involved, and what we would do is we'd actually get a plant, but their name would go on the plant, so it would be their plant.
Okay.
And the whole idea is for them to take ownership of it. And now that worked extremely well, because you can imagine if you give somebody something and they put it down themselves and their name goes in it, it's more meaningful.
Really, yeah.
So,
they're going to look after it, and
yeah, so
there's a connection.
Correct. So we're trying to encourage that in Swords Tidy Towns, to get the youth involved, and not just the youth, but many different. Like in Swords, it's a multicultural society, and there are many different people represented from different parts of the world, you know. So we'd have maybe 10, 11 different nationalities involved with us.
That's fantastic, you know. And did you find that the new people in the community, they get on board? Did they want to get involved? I'm sure they do.
You know, the great benefit of Swords Tidy Towns, and tidy towns in general, is that it doesn't matter if there's language barriers. You know, you don't need to verbalise that much. It's, you know, it's fairly obvious what people can do. So in a way, it's great for people that are coming to an area that don't know anything about how to meet people, and also get to know the area as well. So it's been very successful that way.
Listen, that's brilliant. Thanks a million again, Matt, for coming in today and for joining us. It's been most informative. And as I said, it's fantastic to see somebody so inspirational and so full of energy, you know, so continued success in the future, you know. Thanks again.
Thank you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks a million.